Okay. Today we're doing writing algebraic expressions. We're going to review a problem that we did in class, and I just wanted to go over with you again how we did this. Now it starts out with the word problem that we need to translate. Always translate words into a mathematical expression. Life is always in words. We don't deal with life in mathematical expressions, but we need to know how to, because that's how we'll figure things out. But we need to learn this important key, which is translating between the two. It's like a separate language. If you know one language and you have to tell somebody what that meant, if you know Spanish and somebody says, well, translate that for me in English. This is the same thing. You're translating words into a mathematical expression. So it does take some practice and learning. The first problem is 6n blocks of clay. That's how it starts out with. Now I know that 6n is going to be a relevant thing that I need to know. So I'm going to immediately write down 6n, and I'll put down that 6n represents blocks of clay. I may not need this 6n, but I may need it. It never hurts to write down anything that you think is relevant in a word problem. You could always delete it afterwards. Alright, 6n blocks of clay are shared among 14 students. I have 14 students. That's probably something else I'm going to need to know. And then there was a key word. When I'm thinking about translating words into mathematical expressions, I read shared among 14 students. So the word shared is something I need to translate into math. Shared would most likely mean that I need to divide something. I need to divide it amongst the students. So what they're saying is I have to divide these 6n blocks of clay amongst 14 students. Now let's do a visual on this. Let's draw our 6 blocks of clay. And this represents 6n blocks of clay. Oops. Alright, let's draw. Well, we have 6n blocks of clay. How many students do we have? 14. Let's draw 14 students. 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm grouping them in the logical manner so that when I glance at it, I can immediately tell what I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are my 14 students. Now think of a reasonable, logical answer. First off, I'm just going to estimate. I looked at the blocks of clay I have. I look at the students. I most certainly have more students than I have blocks of clay. I have 14 students and only 6 blocks of clay. Would it be possible for each student to get 1 block of clay? No. Would it be possible for each student to get half a block of clay? If I did these in half, how many pieces would I have? I still would just have 12 pieces of clay. There's 14 students. So my students cannot even have a total 1/2. So they're going to have a fractional portion of a whole. That fractional portion is going to be less than 1/2. So it's going to be less than 1/2. So let's put less than 1/2. Just kind of put that in a little circle to keep that. That's like your little estimation. So I know it's going to be less than 1/2. Keep that there. Just your little estimate. Alright, so now let's do our problem. I have to set this up in an equation. I know that 6n needs to be divided by my 14 students. Because what am I dividing? I can't turn around and say 14 divided by 6n. Am I dividing the students in half? Oh no, that wouldn't be nice. I'm dividing the clay. This is the clay. I can only divide the clay. I'm dividing the clay amongst the 14 students. Think about how we say our things. Think about what it is that we're dividing so that we set up our problem properly. Alright? So now I'm dividing my clay. Again, 6n divided by my 14 students. We know that we can set it up as a fraction because a fraction is just simply a division problem. 6n, it's being divided by 14. I know that 14 would be the divisor, so it's going to be the denominator, 14. We use it in a fraction because we have this variable n here. So it makes sense to put it as a fraction. It makes more sense than if we were to write it this way. We have the 6n here. It's really not, what do we do with the n then? This would be the most logical way to set it up. Alright, at this point, all I have to think about now is reducing. Can I reduce this fraction? Reduce 6n over 14? What can I put into 6 and into 14 both evenly? Well, I know that they're both even numbers. Can I divide them by 2? 6 is an even number, 14 is an even number. I can divide them both by 2. Dividing 6 by 2 equals 3. Don't forget to bring over the n. Dividing 14 by 2 is 7. Your answer is 3n over 7. So 3n, you have 7 parts to your whole. You own 3 of them. Is that less than half? What would be half of 7? 3.5 over 7. Remember our little note here? What did our little note say? This was our little note. We have to have less than 1/2. So yes, do we have less than 1/2? We do. We have 3n over 7.